Yes, guys, welcome back to today's video. And I don't know if you've seen this debate going around on social media at the moment, but Bernardo Silva versus Mohamed Salah of Liverpool is the debate that's going on. It's a pretty mad debate because obviously Salah is predominantly a right winger. Bernardo's a right winger, but also can play midfield in a sort of double pivot, attacking midfield, box to box. So he's got a little bit more to his game. But it's a really interesting debate. There's actually a lot of people on different sides, not just City fans and Liverpool fans. Fans of other clubs are having their say as well. I think it's a really, really interesting one. Hugh, let's start off with you. Give us your sort of in-depth view on Bernardo Silva versus Mohamed Salah.
Oh, it's a tricky one because, and I think it's a good debate because they're definitely two of the best players in Europe over the last 5 years. So it's good to compare players who've done, offered longevity. Salah's definitely offered longevity to Liverpool, and Bernardo Silva's definitely offered longevity to Manchester City. I find it hard to compare and contrast players like this because they both offer amazing things, but both offer very different things in their own rights. I mean, with Salah, you're talking about a consistent output machine. Output is his thing. He's going to get you goals. I speak regularly on our streams about there's very few players in world football who just absolutely, no questions about it, guarantee you goals. Mohamed Salah is that. You even look at the season Salah's just had, which by Liverpool standards and his own standards, he won't be happy with, but he's still bagged. He's still bagged, and that's what he does best. And then with Bernardo Silva, he's not an output machine, but he's just a monster in terms of energy and relentless work rate and creativity. I think Bernardo Silva's possibly one flaw is his lack of output. I mean, if you offered Salah or even half of Salah's output to Bernardo Silva, you're talking about Bernardo Silva up there with the best player in the world. He's in that conversation, the top 1% in world football. So I find it hard to compare them, but it kind of depends what you like in a player. I mean, a lot of people naturally will gravitate towards the player who bags loads of goals because the people who get the goals get the headlines. But you kind of have to watch Bernardo Silva the way we would on a week in, week out basis to really understand what he offers to our team. Versatility, like I said, creativity. And, if the game requires a bit more intensity, there's nobody I would want more for us than Bernardo Silva. So two unbelievable players, man, and it's an interesting debate.
I'm looking at Salah's stats in the league. I'm not going to go through all the European Cups, and it's quite funny because last season, I think most people consider last season like not to be a particularly great season for Mohamed Salah. Guy played in every single Premier League game, by the way. Wow. 19 goals and 12 assists. So for a guy who apparently didn't have the best season last year, played in every single Premier League game, which that's a merit in itself in this day and age, especially for a winger who is constantly sprinting, could be prone to sort of hamstring, thigh, muscle injuries. To play in every single Premier League game, like that is an asset in itself. He scored 19, 12. Season before, 23 goals, 14 assists in 35. Season before, 22 and 5. Season before, 19 and 10. Season before, 22 and 10. Season before, 32 and 10. Season before that, when he was at Roma, 15 and 13. So it's not just since he's been at Liverpool he's been doing it. He did it at Roma as well. So, he's been, like you said, he's an output machine, Mohamed Salah. And I think actually, some City fans might not like me saying this, but I'm trying to be real here. I think actually there's probably a little bit of disrespect on Mohamed Salah's name. If truth be told, I think he's probably one of the greatest wingers ever. I mean, the numbers don't lie. The output that is there, and without Salah, Liverpool are just a completely different team. I'm not saying they rely on Salah, but it's obvious. You take him out the side, and they're a hell of a lot weaker. Why? Because look at the output. Now, if you compare that output with Bernardo Silva, it's completely different. Bernardo Silva, goal and assist, 4 and 6, 8 and 4, 2 and 6, 6 and 7, 7 and 8. So he's not getting near the numbers that Mohamed Salah gives you. Still getting pretty decent numbers, but nowhere near the numbers that Mohamed Salah gives you. But as you said, what Bernardo Silva gives you is, I think he gives you that extreme work rate, which is probably unmatched in the world, in my opinion. He can play in the midfield. He's played there before. He can play as an attacking midfielder. He can play as a false nine. He can sit, something that actually he's done quite a few times, especially in some big games, is sometimes he'll sit and he'll drop next to Rodri and they'll play as a sort of double pivot and really sort of just dominate that midfield. He's a very, very switched on footballer. He has a high footballing IQ and intelligence, and is largely irreplaceable due to what he can give you and the versatility he can give you. Now, unlike Salah, Bernardo Silva probably doesn't get the plaudits that he deserves. And one of the reasons is because he doesn't hold down a position. And I think I'm not comparing the two, but I think this is one of the problems that players like James Milner have over the years. I'm not comparing the two, but one of the problems James Milner's had is that he's never really just nailed down a position. I mean, if we go back to his City days, Hugh, we've seen him play left wing. We've seen him play as a striker a couple of times. We've seen him play right wing. We've probably seen him play CDM a few times. In fact, I do remember him play CDM against Norwich, who we lost. We've seen him probably play as a defender a couple of times. So it's difficult really to sort of, because people don't really know what you're best at, but you're an intelligent footballer and you're a very good footballer. And that's one of the issues that I think Bernardo Silva has. But his qualities is that he's hella versatile. I mean, just look what he did in the Champions League this year, bro. It was insane.
It was. He turns up in the big moments, Bernardo Silva, and you're right. It's really hard for people to even have these kind of conversations and throw Bernardo Silva, players like him, into specific brackets where you can make conversations and make debates and make arguments. I mean, the fact that we're talking about a really versatile player who plays everywhere in Bernardo Silva in a debate with, like you said, possibly one of the greatest wingers of all time, Mohamed Salah, it just goes to show how great Bernardo Silva is, because you wouldn't call Bernardo Silva an out-and-out winger, but, they're both terrific players. And the thing with Salah is, for him to get the stats, particularly last season was a big tell for Salah, while he's working with essentially no midfield in Liverpool. Their midfield was absolutely brutal. You can see that in the transfer business they're doing now, complete overhaul. So, for a winger or a striker, they heavily rely on really good service. They heavily rely on, creative players behind them, which he didn't have, and he's still putting out those numbers. So, I'm not going to sit here on a City channel and just say as easily as I could Bernardo Silva's clear, because I don't think it's as clean cut as that. Mohamed Salah is absolutely brilliant, but it's like, you're definitely right. It's hard for players like Silva to nail themselves into specific conversations, but he's so unique. When we talk about Bernardo Silva replacements all the time, we can't come up with an obvious one because of what he offers. It's so unique.
I'm gonna wrap this up on my side now by giving you sort of three answers, because I think there's a multi-layered question and multi-layered answer that I can give. If you're asking me who's the best right winger, Salah. If you're asking me who's the better footballer, I think, in my opinion, it's Bernardo Silva. I think Bernardo Silva is a better footballer overall. And if you're asking me who to sign a player that can play in multiple positions, it's going to be Bernardo Silva. So I know that's a little bit of a like I say, three answers there. Right winger, clearly Salah. If I'm buying a position that isn't just right winger, Bernardo, but clearly that's favoured in Bernardo, but clearly the right winger is favoured in Salah, so it's even. And the final bit, who do I think is the best footballer? I personally believe that Bernardo Silva is a better footballer than Salah. That doesn't matter, though. If I'm picking a right winger, I'm picking Salah. So what are you saying, bro? It's a sort of answer to the question. Where you at?
Yeah, I think Salah's a better winger. I think Salah's a better attacker. I think Salah's far more cutthroat and clinical in the final third. But I think Bernardo Silva's all-round game is clear of Salah. I mean, we've seen Bernardo Silva play left back. Bernardo Silva's defensive ability doesn't get spoken about enough. How many times in the last 3 or 4 years have we seen Bernardo Silva spend time beside Rodri? In the number 6 kind of area of the pitch, dropping deep, picking up the ball off center halves and moving the ball forward. So I think Bernardo Silva's all-round game and footballing IQ is higher, but Salah has that ruthlessness in the final third. Yeah. But if you put a gun to my head and ask me which one would I prefer in my team, for all the reasons we outlined, I think Bernardo Silva. I think there's more players. I'm not saying to the level that Salah can do it, but there's more players in world football can do what Salah does, or similar attributes, but there's not many players in world football that have the exact same attributes or close to the same amount of attributes as Bernardo Silva. He's just that unique.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting debate. Guys, of course, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm sure we'll have a lot of Liverpool fans on here. Obviously, we are biased towards Manchester City players. That's the way it works, obviously. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Really interested to see your guys' sort of approach on this question. Who is the better player? Who is the better winger? Who is the better all-round player? Let us know in the comments. Make sure you drop a like on today's video. Subscribe to the channel as well if you're new. Big transfer news coming up later as well. Transfer speculation for City. And guys, we'll see you in the next one. See you later.